Hey there. I wanted to share some information with you regarding additive and multiplicative number patterns. So we're going to start out with a little bit of vocabulary words, with a couple of vocabulary words. So let me give you your first vocabulary word. Your first vocabulary word is additive. Additive. And if you had to guess what that word had to do with, hopefully you would have seen that it has add in it, and you would have known that it is related to addition. Related to addition. The next word is multiplicative. And it's just a fun word to say, and it's related to multiplication. So when you see that we're dealing with number patterns that are additive or multiplicative, basically what we're saying is we're going to deal with number patterns that increase by either adding or multiplying. So it's important to know that a rule is basically a set of parameters for a pattern. Okay, it can be applied throughout the pattern. A term is a number that is part of a pattern or an equation or an expression. So if the pattern is increasing, it's going to be dealing with addition and multiplication. If it's decreasing, it's going to be dealing with subtraction or division. We're specifically dealing with addition and multiplication in this one. So let's look at some different patterns. All right, looking at this pattern, we see that the pattern is increasing. So we know that the pattern is either going to be addition or multiplication. So each number is increasing, so it's either going to be addition or multiplication. When we look at the first term and the second term in the pattern, this is the first term, this is the second term, we have to ask ourselves, how did this pattern go from 3 to 6? There are two different ways that we can look at this pattern. On the addition side, we know that 3 plus 3 equals 6. We also know that 3 times 2 equals 6. So we're going to have to make a decision about whether or not this pattern is increasing by adding 3 or by multiplying by 2. The way that we make this decision is we look at the next set of terms in the pattern. 6 plus 3 is 9, so plus 3 definitely applies here. But 6 times 2 does not work here because 6 times 2 would be 12. So we can eliminate the times 2 for this next term. But let's make sure that we're correct, just in case there's a pattern that's like an A-B pattern in poetry where it skips. Let's see what it is this time. 9 plus 3 is 12. The rule for this pattern is plus 3. Each term increases by 3 as it moves on. Next, let's look at a pattern that might be related to multiplication. So 3, 12, 48, 192, 768. Let's look and see what we can figure out about this pattern. Again, we know that it's increasing, so it's going to be plus or multiplying. I've already told you that it's related to multiplication, but if we didn't know, we would look at this and say, okay, 3 plus 9 equals 12, or 3 times 4 equals 12. So for the first term, we have either plus 9 or times 4. Now we have to look at the second term to decide what the rule for this pattern is. If we add 9 to 12, the next term would be 21. So plus 9 is not going to work for this pattern. So I think it's going to be times 4 because I know that 12 times 4 equals 48. Now I'm going to go in and look at the next term. I know for sure that 48 plus 9 is not 192. So I would have to see if times 4 would work for this one. So let me do 48 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. 2 carry the 3. 4 times 4 is 16. 17, 18, 19, 192. So the rule for this pattern is times 4. The rule for this pattern is times 4. All right, so we're going to do 2 more examples. And so let's look at this first set of numbers. This first set of numbers is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that if I'm going to 0 to 1, that there is no way that this can be a multiplication pattern because anything times 0 is going to be 0. So there's no multiplication pattern, but it is increasing when we go from 0 to 1. So I know that it is going to be addition or multiplication. So I'm going to go with addition since we can't multiply. And we are increasing by 1. Next, from 1 to 2, we are increasing by 1, 2 to 3, increasing by 1, 3 to 4, increasing by 1. When we know that the rule is plus 1, we can figure out the next term in the pattern. So if we add 1 to 4, we know that our next term is going to be 5. We know that we can keep moving up in the pattern to find out the next term. The next term would be 6. Knowing the rule helps us to know what is going to come next in the pattern. So the next pattern we're going to look at is fun. I like this one. So this pattern is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and we could keep going on forever and ever. Now, it doesn't look like this pattern is either increasing or decreasing, which means that we probably need to know the identity properties of multiplication and division. If we move from the first term to the second term, we can do one of 4 things. We can either multiply the original term by 1, we can add 0. This one, we could actually subtract 0 or divide by 1. Even though we haven't talked about subtraction and division or rules that relate to that in number patterns, those are options that would still work. 1 minus 0 is still 1. 1 divided by 1 is still 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. And 1 times 0 is 1. So as we keep going, since each term is 1, we know that all of these still apply. Remember that if you have questions or need help with this, you are always welcome to come in and see me. I'll talk to you soon.